Hello and welcome to the buttons exercise. We haven't had the video tutorials in a while for a variety of reasons. The last time with the text, I don't think it was totally necessary. This is a exercise where we're going to be dealing with interactivity for the first time. You guys signed up for a class called 2D Animation and Interactivity. We've done a lot of animation up to this point. We haven't done much interactivity, and we're going to sort of begin that interactivity portion with this exercise. Project 3 has to do specifically with the idea that a viewer has a choice. In this case, it's going to be what's called a button, where they choose one route or another route. This is sort of very sort of entwined with how I want you to think about Project 3. You can read over the specifics of that, but mainly having to do with do we go this way or do we go that way? Which choice do we make in relation to the issue that you guys have chosen for your project? First part of that project is going to be sort of researching, deciding the sort of simple routes that viewers can take via these buttons. Okay. This is one exercise. There'll be one short exercise next week in relation to buttons. I've set up a certain amount of things here already, basically steps 1 through, and I'm looking at my sheet here, I guess 1 through 8. So basically we have three scenes. We have a home scene that has nothing on it. We have a red ball scene that has a simple red ball graphic animation, and we have a green ball scene. These are sort of animated over a period of 60 frames. These just sort of serve to, excuse me, I guess note that whatever you're doing with your button is correct. Okay. Before we head into what we're going to head into with this, we are entering the first sort of element of actions. Actions is a script, a language, a programming language, a pretty simple one in the terms of as far as programming languages go. That's going to allow us to add interactivity and add bits of script to these buttons to make them work. Okay, so this is sort of an important jump and an important move towards the interactivity portion of the semester. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up, and I'm looking at the buttons sort of sheet here. I'm going to pick up at step 9, where it says go to home scene. Okay, so I'm on the home scene. The home scene is sort of where we're going to basically go from some buttons here over these red ball and green ball scenes. And it says go to window actions. And it says in the actions window type, and we don't want the quotes here, we just want to type, whoops, spelled it wrong, stop with these parentheses. This is the most simple bit of action that you can sort of attach to a Flash movie. Those of you, or all of us, have sort of noticed at this point that Flash likes to, what I always say is go, go, go. This is going to stop our movie. We need it to stop because we're going to have 2 buttons that allow us to go somewhere. If we let this sort of be a normal Flash movie without this stop, it would just sort of blow through that scene however long it is and go to the next scene and then go to the next scene and then start over again at the beginning. We need to stop the movie. Okay, this is the actions panel, and you can use what's called code snippets, which we're going to use, or you can sort of type this code in sort of manually. Okay, so we just put that stop in, and I'm going to close this out. Okay, you'll notice up here, and this is I'm on step 11. It says this will add a small a to there. This is saying that there's an action there. That tiny little a, and it's probably hard to see. I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to rename it stop action. This is 12. Okay. Now it says choose insert new symbol and name this symbol go to green button. Okay, so I'm going to go insert new symbol. I'm going to have this go to green ball button. Okay. Next, I need to make sure this is a button. We have dealt with movie clips and graphics so far. The one symbol we haven't dealt with up to this point is a button. Buttons allow for interactivity. They're a little bit different, and we're going to sort of make our first button here. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. I enter the library where I'm going to make this. It says choose the text tool and draw a text box. Oops. And I'm going to type go to green ball. That in the center. Now, let's take a look here. It says type go to green ball in a dark sheen grade, and then it says insert keyframes in each of the over, down, and hit states in one of in the layer timeline. Okay, it says highlight the text of the over state keyframe and change it to a light green. Up here we have what's called the states of a button. Okay, it looks a little bit different than a normal sort of timeline. The up state has to do with just sort of what the button looks like when we're not doing anything to it. The over state has to do with what happens when we hover over this. The down state has to do with what happens when we actually click on it. And the hit state is sort of defining the area that all this can sort of happen in. Okay, where it sort of becomes a link, if we want to think about it in sort of like internet, like it's a link on a web page. What we need to do is sort of activate all these. So I'm going to click here, and I'm going to insert a keyframe, insert a keyframe, insert another keyframe, and I'm going to go to this over state, and I'm going to simply sort of select this. I'm just using the text tool again, and I'm going to just change this to a light green. Okay. So what's going to happen here is on the over state, it will sort of change to that lighter color. Okay. It says repeat steps 13 through 19, and we want to make sure this is the red ball button. Okay, so we're going to basically we're going to do the same thing and create a new button that's going to be the red ball button. I'm going to pause the video briefly and make that red ball button real quick and come back. Okay, I have worked ahead just a smidge. I am actually, what I did was I sort of created that red ball. I have a red ball button now, and I have a green ball button. I have, as step 21 says, on the home scene, insert 2 layers, name one the red ball button, there, name one the green ball button. Drag the go to green ball button onto the stage on the first frame of the green ball button, right there. Same thing with the red ball button. So I have a red ball button layer, and I have put the red ball button actually on the first frame of that layer, and I've done the same thing with the green ball button. Okay, now this is where it gets a little tricky in terms of dealing with the action script for these buttons. Okay, remember, first and foremost we have a stop, so we're going to come into this movie and we're going to immediately stop. Next thing I want to do is, it says with the black selection tool, so this arrow, go to window, click on the green ball button on the stage. Okay, so we're just sort of saying whatever we're about to do is going to happen to this button. Okay, it says go to window, code snippets. Code snippets are sort of pre-packaged bits of code that allow you to do something to a button, in this case, without having to write all what is going to be somewhat complicated code, and you're going to see that in a second. Okay. It says click on the second folder called Timeline Navigations, and you'll see a set of choices. So I'm going to go under Action Script actually, and then Timeline Navigation. And then it says double click on the one called Click to Go to Scene and Play. So this is what I always call the plain English bit. So we click to go to scene and play. It's basically saying when we click on this, you're going to go to a scene and then play something. Okay, so I'm going to double click on that, and I get this. Okay, couple things. First and foremost, if you see anything up here that's often grayed out and it has these backslashes, this is called a comment. It has nothing, it's actually not the code. It's, again, back to that phrase, plain English. It says, clicking on the specified symbol instance plays the movie from a specified scene in frame. Okay, that's not code. Okay, that has not, that's just sort of an explanation of what's going to happen here. Now it says instructions, replace scene 3 with the name of the scene you'd like to play, and replace 1 with the frame number. Okay, now we named our scenes. Okay, what you have to do, and this is where we sort of, step 27 in the actions panel, look for the code movie clip this route. Okay, this is this business right here. We're looking for this little parentheses right here. This 1 represents the frame number, and then scene 3 represents the actual scene that we want to play. Now, it is super important, and this is where it says this has to be exactly what your scene is called. So I'm going to look, so I'm going to close that out, and look, my scene is called, and I'm moving it right here, green ball. I just wanted to make sure, so I can type, it's got to be exactly that. Okay, if it's different capitalization, if you change anything, it's not going to see that. Okay, now you're going to repeat these steps 22 through 28 for the red ball button. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Go here. And I'm going to do this quickly. When you get this window, the selected symbol requires an instance name. Just click OK. It's just naming it. Okay. So this is the second one. And I'm going to go to red ball. Okay. So now I have 2 buttons that each have a script attached to them. Okay, and what I want to do is check to see if everything works. So I'm going to go to Control, Test Movie. Okay, you'll notice the first thing is we have a stop. This will sit here forever until my computer runs out of battery, and until I sort of hit one of these. So there's my overstate for each of those, and I go to red ball, and then I actually go to green ball. I'm going to talk about that in a second. This one I go to green ball. It comes directly back. Okay, that has to do with the scenes. Okay, so let's think about the structure here. First is home. From home we can go to red ball. Okay, but if we go to red ball, and this is sort of goes in chronological order with these scenes, we go directly from red ball to green ball. Okay, then green ball sort of ends and goes back to home. Remember, Flash just wants to go through all the scenes unless it has sort of directions otherwise. When we clicked on green ball, we only saw green ball because we skipped from home to green ball and then went back to home again. Okay, we see green ball because green ball is after red ball. Okay, if we were sort of thinking about the chronology of these. So I say that to sort of introduce what has to happen with this last steps, and this is adding the short go to and play script, which is steps 30 through 35. I'm going to stop the video briefly and do a very short part 2, so we'll sort of finish this up here in a second.